Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars David Wayne, special guest star Eileen Heckert. Tonight's episode, Dark Legacy.
I got you.
No, don't.
All right.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Take it back.
I'm not taking
Take
it
it
back.
Yeah, come on. Let's go. Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I forgot my tobacco.
Oh, one of the great tragedies of the decade.
Hey, you catch anything?
Well, oh, wow, look at this.
Oh. Hey, you really got one.
Yeah, you look.
Oh,
There you hey, oh.
Get it, get it.
Got it?
Let me. Oh. Ow.
Oh,
Ow.
here. Oh, here. Use the handkerchief. It's going to stop bleeding.
Here.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Maybe these nice people will take our picture.
Oh.
People at home won't believe this without a picture.
Maybe they would if you wouldn't tell so many fish stories.
Here, I'll show you how to.
Is your finger all right now?
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, you just look right through here. You'll see these lines. That frames the picture.
Right.
And then you press on that. Just sort of wrap your fingers around the camera. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. All right.
Oh,
let's get
beautiful.
it.
Beautiful. Hold it
Now, wait a
still.
minute.
Right?
All right, hold it. Okay,
Smile.
smile.
Cheese.
Get it.
Gorgeous,
Get it.
fantastic.
Come on. Here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, good luck.
I hope
with
you catch
everything.
more fish.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Hey! Are you kids newlyweds?
Certainly not. We've been married almost 4 weeks.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. I must have left my pipe back there somewhere. Hey, look, why don't you go in the house and build us up a couple of warmer uppers? And I'll come right up. I'll see if I can find it, okay?
Oh, boy. The honeymoon's over, huh?
Yeah, I'll tell you when the honeymoon's over.
Hey there! Lose something?
Yeah, I lost my pipe somewhere down here.
Oh, was that yours?
Yeah.
Well, my wife's already gone up to the car with it. Come on up, I'll meet you halfway.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. I'll come on up.
think you should go check?
Oh, golly, it doesn't seem necessary to me. You think?
Oh. I guess not.
Get any more sandwiches in there? I'm starved.
A ham and cheese. I saved it just for you.
That's my age.
It's strange. When you look at the ocean with someone you love, you think of distant places, interesting people. But when you're alone, it's just big and quiet, sort of eternal. Just to remind you how small and temporary you are, I guess.
And all measured by grains of sand. Life, constellations, universe. Mighty fine hourglass you have here. You don't see many of these anymore.
That was a wedding gift from Paul's Uncle Amos.
Amos Barringer, well, I'll be doggone.
Not too many hours ran through it for us, Mr. Jones. Someone cheated Paul from his share, and I want you to find out who did it.
I've talked to the people at the sheriff's office.
An accident, they say. That all makes it a lot easier for them, doesn't it?
Sometimes grief does play tricks on reason. I've had that experience a couple of times myself.
I tell you, there was no reason for Paul to be climbing those rocks looking for his pipe.
Miss Barringer, your husband was carrying a considerable amount of money. He was wearing a valuable watch, an expensive ring. None of those were touched.
Just 1 minute, he was full of life, laughing. And then 20 minutes later, when I went to look for him, he was dead.
You know, I've been looking half the day for the sight of this.
Be my guest.
Do you remember renting a tackle box like this to a middle-aged couple about the first 3 days of last week?
First 3 days. Well, what was the name?
Well, I was kind of hoping you'd supply that. The man probably wanted to rent some surf casting tackle along with it.
Now, there was a guy and his wife in here that didn't seem to know what kind of tackle to get.
Nice, friendly Midwestern folks?
Yeah. Raymond Steele. He was a persistent cuss. 3 days and caught one fish.
Do you have an address on him?
And no, sir, he paid the whole deposit in advance for the 3 days.
Any license number, car license, identification?
No, ordinarily I would have them, but when Cliff Munger sends them down, why, I know they're all right.
Cliff Munger?
Yeah, he runs that Malibu Shores motel up there. He sends me a lot of good rentals. Never sent me a bummer yet.
You notice anything about the couple?
Well, nothing in particular. Well, they did seem to be kind of watching their pennies.
Why do you say that?
Well, you see, it was long about supper time when they came in and turned in their tackle. And he asked me if I could recommend a good hamburger stand.
Oh, Ma. I'll have a tuna fish salad sandwich.
No, don't do that, hon. You know I don't like you to do that.
Well,
Now, we planned this trip. Let's enjoy. Splurge. I'm going to.
You're the only one I trust to design it. Just like the layout you did up near Monterey.
I told you, if you want an architect who does carbon copies, I'm really not interested. Mulholland Drive isn't Monterey.
Okay. Okay, free hand. Surprise me.
Well, you made a zoning variance up there for condominiums, #1.
Leave that to me. At least drive up and take a look at the site, huh?
What side of Neeson Road are you talking about?
West, that whole triangle in there between Neeson Road and Mulholland that overlooks the valley.
Okay. I'll take a look at it tomorrow afternoon, but I'm still not promising I can do it. All right?
Waiter. I think we will have a cocktail after all. 2 grasshoppers, please. I think this calls for a drink, don't you, Angel?
Mr. Miss Steele?
Hi. Hi.
How's the fishing?
Well, if you're willing to settle for 3 days of fresh air and 1 fish, fishing's fine.
Well, surf casting a little iffy this time of the year.
Can't quite place you. Did we run into you down there?
I think you said hello to some friends of mine a couple of times out on the beach.
Who would that be, Angel? Did we meet anybody?
Only the newlyweds, remember?
Oh, nice couple. Nice young couple, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. My name is Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator.
Oh, my. Were they doing something wrong?
No, the young man, Paul Berenger, was killed in the fall from the rocks down there. I think it was shortly after you talked to him. I thought you might have seen something.
What did I tell you, Angel? That was him we read about in the newspaper.
You said that was his picture, and I didn't think it looked like him at all.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a real shame.
I take it that you didn't see how it might have happened.
Golly, no.
Well, just a chance. Guess I gotta keep on fishing.
Say, that's interesting. The way you found us, I mean, how you private investigators work.
Well, just took a little shoe leather and tracking down a yellow rented tackle box.
Tackle box, what do you know? That's interesting.
Well, thank you.
You look worried, Angel.
I'm a little depressed.
Now, you just cheer up. Nothing's changed. We may have to just speed things up a little, that's all. You're homesick, aren't you, right?
Maybe. I guess you're right, but that Mr. Jones does worry me.
There's nothing we can't handle, Angel. Nothing at all.
Well, thanks, Sam. I appreciate it.
So how is Paul Berenger's business life?
Well, it seems it doesn't hurt a young man's career in a brokerage office if his #1 client is also his great-uncle, Amos Berenger.
Amos Berenger? I didn't know he was still around.
Well, he is, and apparently doing well. Now, Betty, don't depend on me for all your news today because I'm kind of shy of it.
All right, well, how about this? I checked with both of the daily newspapers, and neither of them ran a picture of Paul Berenger at the time of the accident.
Well, Betty, Mrs. Steele mentioned a picture. Why don't you check the neighborhood papers? Maybe that's where they saw it.
All righty, I'll do that. Barnaby, it seems that Marilyn Berenger and I share the same hairdresser.
Hairdressers, barbers, bartenders. You want information? They're better in the library.
Mine is, anyway. I found out that Marilyn went around with Frank Halliday before she ever married Paul.
Oh?
Well, they weren't engaged, but then Frank went away to Venezuela on a hotel project for a year.
That fits. Frank has made a name for himself as an architect.
By the time he got back, she had already married Paul Berenger. What does mean?
Betty, ever see a coon dog work?
Not in recent weeks, no.
Well, they go, up every tree in the woods till they find the right one.
There's another one. It's a California jay.
Oh, they're so common. Let me see.
Hi there.
Afternoon.
You're not planning on building anything here, are you?
Could be.
Say, would you mind taking our picture? Give me the camera, dear. Yes. You know, sort of a before and after picture. Here you are. Right there. I think that's best for us. Now, I think the light will be best if you're right over here about. Here we are. Now, you just look through that finder there, and there's some lines that'll frame the picture, and the shutter's there, and you just press on that, and if you'll just...
Raymond!
Yeah?
Raymond!
Just a second.
No, no, right now, right this minute, come quick. Oh, that is the first one ever.
Yeah, would you excuse us, please? We want to get a little closer to that bird.
Well, so here's where you are.
Jones, wasn't it?
Your office told me I'd find you here. What are you going to do, turn this location into something big?
Haven't decided. You're a little further ahead in your work than I am.
How's that?
Well, you're not out here on a nature hike. I've already met the nature hikers. Now, the only possible thing that would bring you out here would be Marilyn Fraser.
I think her married name is Barringer. Or was that a Freudian slip?
Possibly. I can tell by that pussycat look of yours that you've already found the canary. Yeah, Marilyn and I went together before she met Paul Barringer, so...
Serious?
Everything I do is serious. I couldn't get that across to Marilyn, however.
Yeah, I suppose it was pretty disappointing to come back from Venezuela and find out she'd married someone else.
Mr. Jones, show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser.
I'll remember that. Do you remember exactly where you were the day that Paul had his accident?
I'm sure of the answer to that, Mr. Jones. I'm just not sure I approve of the question.
Well, every one of these gray hairs I got from going around a long way to get an answer, if you'd rather not say.
I was at a construction site. Paradise Cove. That whole afternoon.
Paradise Cove. That's only a few miles from here.
I can't believe you'd even consider such a possibility.
I have so few possibilities that I have to consider them all.
But not Frank. No, I just couldn't believe that.
Miss Barringer, you hired me to ask questions, and I'm going to have to ask you one. Do you stand to become a wealthy woman now?
I was wondering when you'd get to that.
I try not to suspect my clients until after the second day.
Well, there was a premarital agreement. Not being a blood relative, I'll never inherit Paul's eventual share of the family fortune. Whatever that is, I'm really not too clear. Hello? Yeah, he's right here. It's your office.
Thank you. Yes, Betty?
Barnaby, the foreman on the Paradise Cove construction site remembers that Frank Halliday was there all afternoon.
I see. Is there anything else?
Well, I haven't found a newspaper yet that even has a picture of Paul Barringer in their morgues, let alone having run the picture.
Try the underground papers. They love sensations. They've got news racks all over the place. I'll see you in about an hour, Betty.
Right.
Well, your friend Frank may not be a good loser, but he's not a liar either.
Hey! Well, you reporting late or starting early?
I got a call. I have to check the ductwork on the 21st floor. Do you believe that? I might even have to change it before they close up tomorrow anyway.
Old man Whitman's gonna blow a fuse. He's been out here every day. Like he's expecting you to be laying carpet already.
Let him blow a fuse. Better he does it now than next September when his air conditioning goes off, right?
Right. See you later.
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever have a better chance.
I trust your judgment. Whatever you say.
You're blocking the entrance.
Could you help me, please?
Put it in neutral.
I opened my bag to get an address, and when I came back, the car just wouldn't start.
Well, it sounds to me like you flooded it. Tell you, unlatch the hood and let me take a look.
Oh, would you please?
Okay, try it again. Lady, you're blocking my light.
Oh.
You said something about helping a lady fix her car. About what time was that?
About 10:30, 11 o'clock. Just after Mr. Halliday drove in.
What was the matter with the car?
Oh, she flooded it out. Stopped it, couldn't get it started again.
Where did it happen?
Right in here.
Do you remember anything about the lady?
No, I didn't pay that much attention. It was kind of dark. No, she just stood there helpless, holding her bag while I fiddled with the carburetor.
Her bag? Was it a purse?
No. You know a purse doesn't hold enough. They carry these big bags. This was a large one, bright red plaid job.
You say it was plaid.
Already checked out. You don't want to be charged for another day.
I can't find it.
What is
My
it?
handkerchief, I can't find it.
Well, look around. Must be someplace.
Oh, no.
What's the matter?
That girl. I gave it to her when she cut her finger on the fishhook, remember?
You sure?
Oh, yes, I wasn't thinking.
Well, what can we do? She probably doesn't even know what it is. We'll just have to forget it.
We can't forget it. It's an heirloom Irish linen with the Beringer B and crest on it. And sooner or later, somebody's going to ask her where she got it, and she's going to remember.
So they'll think she's mistaken.
Oh, Raymond. We'd never sleep a wink the rest of our lives. I'd wake up at night, and I'd wonder if somebody didn't ask her, where did you get that? Raymond, I'd have nightmares for the rest of my life.
You do no such thing. We'll go out there before we go to the airport, and we'll get it back.
Suppose she already knows.
No. It's all settled. I'm not going to let a little thing like a handkerchief ruin your entire trip. Let's go.
The Steels, they checked out just a few minutes ago. Why?
Well, it's very important I get in touch with them. Did they say where they were going?
No. He was asking about fishing spots up the coast. I told him I'd head south if I was fishing this time of the year. That's about all the help I can give you, Mr.
Barnaby Jones. I'm a private investigator. They may have some information that's very important to me. Do you have a home address or a license number?
Well, there's no license number. I think they got here in a cab.
Yeah, they were probably renting the car they were driving. The home address?
Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Steele, 833 Sycamore, Eaton Rapids, Michigan. You know, I believe he called her Virginia.
Barnaby Jones' office, may I help you? Barnaby, I have not been able to find one newspaper that printed a picture of Paul Berenger anywhere.
I think it's a wild goose chase, Betty, without a goose. The picture I'm getting is that there just isn't any picture at all.
Well, you think the Steels aren't for real? 833 Sycamore? Eaton Rapids, Michigan. Right. Anything else?
Give a little tug on that thread of their story. If it's bad goods, the whole thing will fall apart. I'm going on to have another talk with Marilyn Berenger.
Barnaby, Marilyn called. She had heard about Frank Halliday. She said she was going to go see Amos Berenger. She seemed pretty upset.
Thanks.
Another thing, get rid of that uniform. Bad enough being sick without being reminded of it. Wear a dress.
Miss Berenger. This is Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, how do you do?
He won't stay long.
He'll stay as long as he likes. This is still my home, not a mausoleum.
How you feeling, Mr. Berenger?
Well, I kind of losing my grip. Guess you can tell that.
I'd still hate the Indian wrestle you.
Sit down, sit down.
Thank you.
Well, I still got one good grip left. I'm saving that for St. Peter. Maybe the devil. Don't know which.
Mr. Berenger, I was very sorry to hear about your nephew's death.
Both of them now.
Both of them?
Paul and Frank.
Frank? Frank Halliday was your nephew, too?
Grandnephew, just like Paul. They were the only close kin I had left.
I take it there are other heirs.
My folks put down some proper acorns, Mr. Jones. Grew a good-sized family tree. I outlived most of them, and I'm afraid I lost track of the rest.
What about the Steels?
What's the name?
Steele. Raymond and Virginia Steele. Are they heirs, too?
Well, now, I don't recall any kin by that. Let's see, there was the Peters and Stone, and, oh, yes, one of our people married a Lennox, and this sort of thing doesn't come easy anymore.
You do as well as most. Better.
Angel. Here it is.
Hello.
Marilyn? You don't sound very well. They said you went to a doctor. Anything wrong?
No, nothing's wrong, Mr. Jones. I'm just suffering from that common malady that often strikes old-fashioned brides. I'm going to have a baby.
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful.
Well, I don't mean to sound unhappy about it. I guess it's just sinking in. Yeah. Well, no, I haven't seen them since that day.
I don't want to alarm a new mother-to-be, but just to be on the safe side, why don't you stay there?
Yeah.
Play it safe. It's just possible that that nice couple may be behind this whole thing.
Okay, I will. Goodbye.
Did you hear that, Angel? She's gonna have a baby. By golly, what do you know about that?
We're sorry, Marilyn, but it's not our fault that you're going to have a baby. We just can't have that.
You know, it was fate that brought us back here for that handkerchief. Fate is on our side, Angel. I told you.
Please, just leave. I won't say anything.
Oh, I don't think we can trust fate that far, little lady.
It's your own fault, my dear.
You're crazy. Both of you. You're just crazy.
Now, I just don't think I'd say that.
Now, Angel, don't get yourself all upset.
Turned out like a stranger just because I married Raymond.
Now, there's no need to go into all that. We're allowing old Amos to make amends. Now, just forget it.
I don't know what you're talking about, either of you.
You think you can just walk in and say I do and become a Barringer? Well, that's not right. Raymond did his best, and never a dollar, not a single kind word did we ever get from Amos. Not once, ever. And when he was in bed and he couldn't work because his back hurt, why, he didn't even answer my letters.
Now, you're getting yourself all worked up, and there's no need for it. Now, you deserve the best, and you're going to get it. I'm working all this out for you.
Wait, you can't just kill me.
Well, you're right about that. No, we can't allow any loose ends. You're going to have to kill yourself. And that's what the note's going to have to say.
Yes, that was Cleveland. Oh. Thank you very much. You know, sometimes you do amaze me.
Well, inheritance is sort of like tracing the line of royal succession. You have to figure out which acorn fell closest to the tree.
Any idea who holds the golden acorn?
Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Lennox.
Lennox. Residence, Lorain, Ohio.
Wife's name Virginia, formerly Virginia Barringer.
But they aren't at home. I called their newspaper. The Lennoxes discontinued delivery about 3 weeks ago, but they ordered it started again next week.
What about the Steeles? You get any word from the airline?
Mr. and Mrs. Steele were booked on a flight to Cleveland this morning, but they were a no-show. You know, and I couldn't locate their Eaton Rabbit's address. Could be a phony.
Just as phony as the picture in the paper that Virginia Steele said she saw. When I went up to see Frank Halliday, he mentioned that he had met the nature hikers. The guard said the woman with the flooded car was carrying a plaid tote bag. Betty, unless I am greatly mistaken, we are looking at a blueprint for murder.
What?
Eliminate Paul Barringer. Eliminate Frank Halliday, and what do you got left? Virginia Barringer Lennox. All they have to do is go home, wait, and they will inherit the bulk of the Barringer fortune. And they know that Amos Barringer hasn't got much time. Just one thing they didn't figure.
Marilyn Barringer's baby.
Just let it ring, Angel. I'm almost finished.
What's the matter?
No answer. She was there 20 minutes ago. I told her to stay put.
Maybe she had to go out.
She just got in. A young lady who has just been told that she's going to have a baby should be on the phone telling all her friends.
This is going to be very convincing.
Two sounds that really irritate me. One is a busy signal, the other is not. Betty, keep trying. If you get her on the phone, tell her I'm on the way out.
So please forgive me, God and everybody. That's nice, I think.
You were always good with words, Raymond.
Now, young lady, you just sign it.
I won't sign that.
Well, no matter. In your distraught condition, it's quite understandable that you'd forget to sign it. Now, if you'll just stand up. Come on. Come on.
Look, you can't let him do this. Oh.
Such a pretty thing, too.
You don't understand, dear. Raymond and I always do everything together, don't we, Raymond?
Always. Now, I think we'd better take a little walk up the beach. Up to those rocks, I think. Come on. Father. We can take you.
It's all right.
And she isn't even a Barringer. Well, she isn't.
Very nice. Very nice indeed. I bet you feel a lot more fetching in that than you did in that starchy old white thing, eh? That's wonderful. Just wonderful. You know, this old barn used to be a regular menagerie of kids. So quiet in here now, you can hear a pin drop. Liked it better when it was a zoo. Well, one thing, the doctors won't have to worry about me for the next 9 months.
8?
Give or take. No, sir. I'm going to stay around and welcome my nephew. My great-grandnephew.
And what if it's a niece?
Well, I don't know. What about that, Barnaby?
Well, I've been an uncle a few times, and nephews are nice. But, I don't know, when you get them all prettied up, nieces are nicer.
I'll drink to that.
Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather. With guest stars Wayne Rogers, Dan Travanti, special guest star Stephanie Powers. Tonight's episode, Echo of a Murder.
why you keep fiddling around with that dumb engine. Nothing ever works around here except me.
Well, Claire, the engine just stalled. I'll have it fixed in a minute.
And you know how I hate to sit in the sun. You know how bad it is for my skin. Well, if you think I'm gonna put up with this, you got another thing coming. The wife of a man who owns himself a lodge, well, she don't expect herself to be down on her hands and knees scrubbing no floor.
I never asked you to scrub floors. It's not demeaning to be a hostess while meals are being served.
Well, I should hope not, because my daddy didn't raise me up to be no hired hand. If he could see me now, he'd have a fit.
Voice of hers. How it grates on my nerves.
I don't care what you deny. Not a day goes by you don't go snooping around that redhead. You and your fancy lodge. Ain't nothing but a hole in the wilderness. Ain't nothing to do out here. Ain't nobody out here but a bunch of old ladies and senile old men. As a matter of fact, I think I'll just take me the next bus out of here, and I don't need no invitation from you.
Will you sit down in the boat?
Oh.
Just stop it, huh?
Looks like some late mail came in for you, Miss.
Stop that.
Don't do it! Don't take a rag over me!
Watch out what you're doing, huh?
You!
What the devil's he doing to her?
Don't you let me go! Don't go out!
My gracious. See her.
Oh, crazy! Claire! Claire!
That's all I know, Sheriff. The owner of the lodge, killing his wife out on the lake. Of course I saw it. It's plain murder.
Ton? It's been a long time.
Mr. Jones, thanks for coming up. I hope you don't think I was taking advantage just because I knew your son.
Oh, I'm always glad to hear from Hal's old friends.
He didn't do it, Mr. Jones. Gil, Mr. Atkins, it just didn't happen the way people are saying.
Has he been charged yet?
Last night, right after I phoned you, they're calling it a suspicion of murder.
Well, let's start out by your telling me everything exactly as you saw it.
Lon, excuse me.
Good.
Lon, I hate to disturb you with all this excitement going on, but my TV isn't working. Do you think you could fix it?
Yeah, I'll have it taken care of right away. It's those new jacks they put in.
Well, whenever you get the chance.
Now, what did you see, Lon?
Trouble is, I don't know exactly what I saw. I know they were arguing out on the lake, and then Gil's wife screamed, and everybody's saying Gil hit her with the oar, but it couldn't have happened like that. I know Gil.
Has he made a statement to the sheriff?
Gil swears he was just trying to keep her from falling out of the boat. And the oar, he was just trying to reach her with it, not hit her. Gil doesn't swim. Neither did Claire. That's Miss Renford. She's a guest. Would you like me to point out where it happened?
Mm-hmm.
They were just to the right of where the sheriff's boat is now.
About 100 yards from here.
Yeah, and at that distance, you can't see everything. That's what I told Mr. Wright.
We all like Mr. Atkins too, Lon, but that wife of his was a, well...
For a woman sleeping and drinking the day away, snappish even at a good morning? Our sympathies are with Mr. Atkins, but
To a point, that is.
Don't misunderstand us, Lon, but anybody who carried on the way Mrs. Atkins did, especially yesterday morning.
Claire went up and barged right into Miss Renford's cabin. You could hear Claire's voice all over the lake.
What were they arguing about?
Claire thought Gil was paying too much attention to Miss Renford, but Gil's always looking after the comfort of every guest.
I take it you folks are all going to be appearing as witnesses against Mr. Atkins?
Yes. With all due respect to Lon's friendship for Mr. Atkins, the whole thing took place right in front of our very eyes.
seeing is believing.
You know, ma'am, I wasn't too old when my grandfather took me to see a young fellow named Harry Houdini, who was appearing in our town. And at an early age, I learned two things. One, you can't eat a hot dog and cotton candy at the same time. And two, believing everything you see is nearly as bad as having to see everything you believe.
Jones? Sure glad you could come. Lon's talked about you often.
Do they really ski in outfits like that these days?
Yeah, and I don't know where it's gonna end. You talked to Lon?
Mr. Atkins, have you hired yourself a good lawyer?
A fellow named Fred Baumiller. He's a local attorney, but I'm sure he's all I'll need. After all, it's Lon's word against that of those guests, most of whom are at the age where I wouldn't trust their eyesight or their judgment.
I doubt if a friend and employee would outweigh impartial witnesses.
But they couldn't have seen me kill my wife. Mr. Jones, I jumped in the water and I don't swim. I held onto the side of the boat. I reached out my arm to her. I called her name. Those witnesses, they'll have to tell you that. They'll have to tell you that they heard me call her name.
Playing the devil's advocate, you could have been just a man who suddenly came to his senses and realized that he had killed somebody in front of a bunch of people.
Yes, I suppose it could be taken that way, but it wasn't. None of what they thought they saw happened.
What really happened?
She stood up in the boat. She'd been drinking that morning, and I was afraid she was going to fall over the side, just that.
The guests are saying you pushed her out of the boat.
She pushed away from me. Mr. Jones, what possible motive could I have for killing Claire?
Mr. Atkins, if I'm going to be working for you, I've got to have complete honesty. Now, don't tell me that there is no possible motive when you and your wife were constantly quarreling. And what about that attractive red-headed guest, Miss Renford?
All right. I'll admit, I probably was paying too much attention to Sharon Renford. And it's true. Claire and I did constantly fight. Mr. Jones, I probably made one of the biggest mistakes of my life when I married her. But do I look like the kind of a man who would lose his temper to the point that I would take an oar and brain my wife in full view of all of those people?
What were you doing out in the boat?
I was trying to show Claire where I thought we should put some small cabins along the shore, trying to convince her that it would pay off. The outboard had just stalled on me.
What about the oar?
Have you ever tried to take the end of a heavy oar and pass it to someone in the water? You hold it out, and it falls in. I swung that oar over my head in hopes that it would fall within her reach.
And the oar didn't hit her?
It fell short by at least a foot.
Lon says you didn't know your wife very long before you married her.
9 weeks to be exact. I used to go up to Vegas a lot to try to relax, forget about the lodge business. We met up there, and one thing led to another, and... Mr. Jones, I didn't know I was marrying an alcoholic. You wouldn't believe the change in that girl.
Well, it looks to me like your case depends on finding a couple of favorable witnesses. I'll inquire around. People have had a chance to sleep on what they saw.
Then you'll take the case?
From what I know up to this point, it would take a man with an uncontrollable temper to do what they say they saw you do. Not to mention a very stupid one, and that doesn't describe you. Well, times change. For the better. 50%, that's a pretty low rate of recovery.
Yeah, well, in my experience, we've had about, a dozen drownings. Recovered just about half of them. It's the currents. And over in the center of the lake, the bottom slopes down to subterranean levels. scuba diver almost got swept under a ledge down there one time. We gave up using divers.
I can see why this lodge isn't all that popular.
Yeah, fewer people come up here each year. I know Mr. Atkins bought it cheap, but folks don't figure him to turn it around.
The bodies that you recover, where do you generally find them?
Well, after a couple of days, some of them show up over in Funeral Creek. Folks took to calling it that. It's a neck of water horseshoes itself around back of those trees.
Right about here is where she went down, isn't it?
Yeah, we should be just about over it.
The cottage over there, does that belong to the lodge?
Large property runs about a quarter mile past it.
Cedar waxwing.
Well, I'm very flattered.
That's a very good likeness. I'm Barnaby Jones. We almost met over some postcards this morning in the lobby.
I did think you'd come to visit me a little sooner, Mr. Jones.
Well, I wanted to talk to the guests who had made depositions first. See whether they're still as positive after a night's sleep.
And were they?
I'm afraid so. Now, I see you're an ornithologist, Miss Renford.
Oh, no, just a casual interest in birds.
I'm a sort of an amateur one, by accident, to outwit Miss Wilhelm.
Miss Wilhelm?
My 7th grade teacher. She was an absolute bird nut. I used to collect demerits like you just couldn't imagine, so I tried to get on the good side of her. I signed up for bird studies in my hobby class.
How very clever of you.
Well, to make a long story short, I had to help her catalog the entire library file of birds, from Aberdivine to zebra finch.
Mr. Jones, I don't think when you decided to come and visit me, you wanted to discuss birds.
Well, let's just say that I was curious about where you were about the time of the boating mishap.
I was right here. I was photographing a flock of wild geese that were flying over at the time. I wasn't aware there was anything going on in the cove until I heard Mr. Atkins calling for Claire. And then I saw him clinging to the side of the boat.
Hey, that is a beautiful piece of equipment. You mind if I look at it?
Oh, go right ahead.
Telescopic lens. Very handy. So, you caught some wild geese flying over, huh?
Yes, I hope they're in focus.
Why didn't you hear Clara when she screamed for help?
What?
You said that you heard Gil Atkins calling her name. There'd been quite an argument before that, loud enough to be heard all the way over to the lodge. You're 50 yards away from where the boat was. It seemed to me that your attention would have been attracted to the boat from the very beginning.
I heard voices naturally, but I didn't pay them any attention.
That's funny, Miss Renford. I took you for a person who had a very curious nature.
I was busy photographing the geese, concentrating on them.
Scream, struggle, according to the guests, and here you are with a front row seat.
She was a worthless tramp. Drunken shrew he married. Do you think I'd give one iota of evidence against Gil? Whatever happened, she drove him to it.
You saw it all, didn't you, Miss Renford?
You're not going to drag anything out of me in court. Gil deserves all the help he can get.
You're under a misconception, Miss Renford. I'm a private investigator employed to help Gil Atkins.
Oh. Well, I'm not even sure what I saw. I'm not even sure it was in focus.
You triggered the camera?
Yes, I wanted to get a shot of that tramp taking a pratfall.
You filmed the whole thing?
I'm positive it was all an accident. But I'm not adding to any evidence against Gil by giving anyone that film.
You're positive it was an accident. Gil Atkins is swearing it was an accident. Doesn't it occur to you, Miss Renford, that something you have on this film might prove it was an accident?
He couldn't have killed her knowing all those people were watching. It just doesn't make any sense.
Now there, Miss Renford, I couldn't agree with you more. Not making sense.
Do you think I'd testify to something I didn't see?
Mrs. Handley, your testimony is not being disputed. It's simply that your answer sounded like conjecture.
Nothing conjecture about telling exactly what I saw with my own 2 eyes, is there?
What's delaying your daughter-in-law?
Oh, she'll be here. If she were going to be too late, she'd have called me.
I'll rephrase, Mrs. Handley. Is there any question in your mind that the distance to the boat and the fading light distorted what you were seeing?
Frankly, I wish there were some question. It isn't easy to be accusing someone of murder.
Madam, we are not accusing here. We are examining the circumstances surrounding the death of one Claire Atkins without prejudice. This is a hearing, nothing more.
Thank you, Mrs. Handley. Mr. Lon Stevens.
It only looked that way.
All we wish is a direct reply. Did you see Mrs. Claire Atkins being pushed or hurled from the boat?
It looked that way. It wasn't.
Mr. Stevens, either you saw such an act or you didn't.
I couldn't have, and nobody else could have. It only looked that way.
Did you see that oar strike Mrs. Atkins over the head?
Now listen.
Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
They sure shut him up in a hurry.
He's not telling him anything, except he's your friend.
I'd like to call on Mr. Benjamin Wright.
There's no doubt in my mind she was thrown from the boat. And the oar was picked up and swung at her head.
Did you see that oar strike her head?
Yes.
Did you see Mrs. Atkins then disappear beneath the water?
I did.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Now, Your Honor, I'd like to call Mrs. Ryan.
I got it.
Your Honor, before any more witnesses are called, I'd like to call to the stand Mr. Barnaby Jones, who wishes to place into evidence some movie film.
What kind of film?
Pictures of the boating mishap, Your Honor, filmed in its entirety.
How
You know
could
they
that
would
be?
do
Well, they couldn't possibly have taken a film. The oar didn't touch her.
I think we can open the blinds now.
Mr. Atkins, you're looking at a damn fool.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Sorry,
That's
really.
all right, Mrs. Ryan.
You've made a lot of people very happy, Barnaby. Congratulations.
I think congratulations might be due Mr. Atkins. Right over there. may be the cleverest man I ever met.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Ryan. Thank you. Don't think a thing about it.
No,
You were very nice about it.
I don't think I'll ever trust my eyesight either.
Deep breath in months.
Hey, you know,
What?
I like Claire's looks a lot better.
Oh, you do? Oh, feels better. I've got an idea.
Well, if you ain't the most low-down husband I ever did see, treating a woman like a piece of dirt, ain't that the truth?
Got away clean. Nobody hurt. And $250,000 on its way. $250,000?
That's a figure.
I don't believe it.
I went over this in detail with Steve Kelton of Solar Insurance, and that's what you got coming.
Well, I remember an item in the escrow papers about the lodge insurance remaining in effect, but I never gave much thought to the policy being anything more than the usual fire and theft and sufficient liability.
The former owners had a lot of other business interests beside the lodge. They had a partnership clause in the policy which protected them in the event of loss of services.
Kind of an ugly thought that I'll profit by Claire's death.
Clara became your partner not only in marriage, but in fact when you added her name to the lodge title, a jointly owned venture in the eyes of the law.
That's right, I remember. At her insistence, everything I had, bank account, so on, became jointly owned. Poor Claire, she was such an insecure person.
I just thought I'd pass this information along to you, Mr. Atkins.
Well, I appreciate that. Incidentally, how'd you come by this information? Making inquiries?
I make a lot of routine inquiries when I'm on a case.
Of course. I'm still stunned. Mr. Jones, I know you're checking out today, and I know that Lon hired you, but I want you to send me the bill.
All right. I'm planning on doing a little fishing before we leave.
Fishing? For what?
Anything I can catch, Mr. Atkins? You notice anything?
I'm not exactly an authority on wild geese.
I'm not talking about the geese. I mean the way the picture jiggles a little.
I don't know that my hand would be any steadier trying to follow a gaggle of geese.
Now watch. Notice something strange now?
I don't think so.
You're aiming your camera up at some geese. You hear a noise in the cove. You point your camera down there. Why no jiggle? Don't look at the people. Look at the end of the boat and the edge of the picture. Taken at 50 yards with a telescopic lens handheld by Miss Renford, and it doesn't vary a hair. This camera was locked in position when she took these pictures.
Oh, she wouldn't have had enough time if she saw Claire was going to fall and wanted to get a picture of it.
If I were to ask Miss Renford, which I don't intend to, she'd say she used a tripod, which she forgot to mention.
Well, what do we do now?
Now we go fishing.
Gil, here's another letter asking a company discount. Maybe you should change your mind about turning down discount business.
Why is Jones using boat number 7?
That's the one he said he wanted.
If he talks about staying over, you tell him that we have everything under reservation from tonight on. Understand?
Gil? After Mr. Jones helping you, you don't want him around?
It's not that, Lon. It's just that I don't want to be reminded of Claire's accident.
I'm not too far away. Let me see the fish, Dad. One more. That's the biggest fishing bug in the world. Terrific! I got it. Well, we've got to get packing. Well, I hope the weather holds for you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Lon, got a question to ask you. I know you think a lot of Gil.
Oh, we've been through NAM together, Mr. Jones. I don't think I could have made it without Gil. I wasn't that much of a soldier.
You socialize a lot working for him?
Sure. I mean, drinking the lounge nights, talk over old times.
You must know his wife pretty well.
Claire? She wouldn't talk to me from the first day she got here. She just turned away like she hated me.
That's strange.
Oh, no, sir. She treated everybody the same.
Your guest, Miss Renford, did Gil know her before she came up here?
Well, I'm sure he didn't. Speaking of Miss Renford, better be hunting up a new TV jack for her. Nice seeing you again, Betty.
Nice seeing you, Ron.
Visit us again, Mr. Jones. Fall's best time for fishing.
I may see you before then. Like trying to grab a hold of a greased pig. You think you got him, and you got a handful of air.
Well, maybe I should pack up and leave tonight.
Oh, no. That's not necessary. We don't want to hurry anything. You talk to the guests, chat with them, say your goodbyes.
How long do you think we'll have to wait?
Shouldn't be more than a week. In the meantime, I'll put the lodge on the market. We'll get what we can get. You stay in Palm Springs.
All right.
What are you doing here?
I promised I'd fix her television set. You're her.
All of a sudden, he's Mr. Efficiency.
It was just a trick.
That's right. Just a trick. Nobody got hurt. And the insurance company can afford it. When I get the check, there's something in it for you.
That's what it was, the insurance?
Sure, that's all. $10,000 for you. Take off, live it up. You're not even involved. You don't know anything about it. You never did. And we'll call the $10,000 a loan from me to you that you never have to pay back. Hey, Lon, wait a minute.
You know me better than anybody, Gil. Do you think I'd ever cheat or steal?
It's all right. I'll talk to him. Hey, Lon! Lon, wait a minute! Lon, please! Lon, listen. Listen to me. I'm in this thing deep, and you're flushing me down the drain.
Gil, I'm all mixed up.
I'll say you're mixed up. You were pretty mixed up in the Kong Delta, too.
I know I owe you, Gil.
Owe me? I wiped your nose for 2 years. They took half a mortar shell out of my hide when I pulled you out of that mud hole.
I know, Gil, I know. See, I can't go along with you anymore.
What do you mean?
I gotta think, Gil.
Think? You never had anything to think with.
Maybe. Maybe you're right. But I know enough to stop when it comes to me doing something bad. I can't look the other way anymore, Gil. It's not like Saigon, when you were taking supplies out the back door and selling them to the black marketeers.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You couldn't make it honest. You never could do anything honest. Always spoiling things with your cheap tricks. That's you, Gil. Cheap. Lousy cheap.
Lon? 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 Lon?
Instead of another cup of coffee, what you need is a good night's sleep.
Betty. Last cup of coffee made just as done.
What? What? Tell me. Give me a...
Look at the length of the shadow of that oar. It's just about the same size of the oar. Well, the length of the shadow of this fishing rod, it's barely half the length of the rod itself.
I'm sorry, Barnaby. I don't get it.
You took these pictures of me about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Same time, same place, boat angle the same. Everything is the same except the shadows are shorter. I was right. That film was staged. They must have done it in the early spring when the lodge was closed and the lake was still deserted. They used the same boat, same engine. They even repainted the boat. Everything was the same. The only thing they couldn't control was the seasons. Roses Fade and Shadows Shift by Ebenezer Elliott.
What teacher was that?
Good old Miss Wilhelm. So now we know. And that little old statement I made at the hearing about optical illusions still stands. All those guests at the lodge who thought they were seeing Claire, what were they actually seeing? They said she was unsocial, that she drank and slept the day away, but they heard her. They heard her arguing with Sharon Renford in that cottage. Everybody heard Claire, but even Lon says he never knew her because she always avoided him.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that Sharon and Claire are the same person? Oh. Well, then, if that's so, why didn't they make it look like an accident from the very beginning instead of a murder?
Because a heavily insured Claire disappearing into the lake would have smelled like fraud. It had been long investigations, and the coroner might not even have certified death. No, our Mr. Atkins took the bold approach. He had eyewitnesses to an apparent murder, so he forced that hearing judge to examine the probable cause of death, never the question of death.
And so Claire, or Sharon, swam underwater to the shore, getting back to the cottage through the brush and the trees.
That's right. Hello, Steve Kelton, please. And you can bet that if I hadn't happened onto that stage film, they would have found a way to have some deputy sheriff just happen on it. Hello, Steve. Barnaby Jones. How would you like to save $250,000 on that Atkin policy? That's right. Hold up payment.
Good morning.
Hi.
How did it all go with Lon?
With Lon? Well, he was happy enough to leave last night. Why shouldn't he be? He's getting $25,000.
Is there something else wrong?
I heard from the insurance company. They're investigating further into Claire's background.
Well, let them investigate. She has no background. She has no family. She has nothing. She appeared from thin air, and she's going to disappear into the same thin air.
Ah. But that guy from the company said a very interesting thing. If they don't recover a body from that lake out there, they're not going to pay off for 7 years.
For 7 years? But what about all those people that saw Claire drowned?
Sudden change in their attitude. Almost overnight. Maybe something we overlooked. Or something Jones saw.
Gil, look, if this thing's gonna start falling apart around us, maybe we ought to, drop it. Back out. It's not that important, really, is it? It's not as if we're losing anything we ever had.
Hey, you know the clothes that you wore as Claire? Where are they?
They're out back, but you told me to bury them.
I think we should get rid of them. Why don't you go get them?
All right. You know, Gil, no one would ever find them. The rock covered them perfectly.
I said go get them.
Why, Gil? Lon knows. If what you're thinking is for them to find Claire's body in the lake, Lon knows.
Yeah, the secret's buried with him.
Yes, ma'am. We have your reservation right here. Just let us know when you'll be arriving. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Is Lon Stevens around?
No, sir. He's no longer with us.
Could you tell me where I can find him?
He left sometime last night for another job. You'd have to ask Mr. Atkins for any details.
Where is Mr. Atkins?
I believe he's driving one of our guests into the city.
Would that guest be Miss Sharon Renford?
Yes, sir.
How long ago did they leave?
Oh, I'd say about 30 minutes, sir.
Never mind casting off. I'm betting she's still alive. You're going to need water in her lungs. Well, now, that is something I didn't figure, you were having a gun. But I guess it just proves that you never were quite sure of yourself right from the beginning. It's all over, Mr. Atkins. A man as smart as you has got to know that once you start swinging wild, everything goes downhill.
What did you tell the insurance company?
Among other things, to watch your next move. You do move fast, Mr. Atkins.
Why aren't the sheriff's men here?
As a professional, I have got to admire the way you put everything together, especially the play acting by Miss Renford here. She's quite a gal. And the way you use remote control on the camera. No third party, cuts down expenses.
You didn't call the sheriff, did you? You weren't that sure of yourself.
Don't you even want to know where you slipped up? Just a plain little boat oar, part of it.
I can't swim! Help me! I can't swim!
What do you know? There's one thing you didn't have to fake.
Help me!
Gil? He killed Lon, you know.
That's what I figured when I called the police. They've got dogs out around the lodge now.
Nobody was supposed to get hurt.
It generally starts out that way.